Hi guys, welcome back aboard our 44-foot hurricane damaged DIY catamaran project boat. In this week's video, we're finally gonna get our mobile workshop, lovingly nicknamed the tool trailer, ready to go off grid. Why? Well, because that's gonna be absolutely crucial once we've moved both of our boats up to North Carolina. Here is all of the cool stuff we're going to be shoving inside of and on top of the tool trailer a little bit later in the video. We have 6 200-watt solar panels, 4 50 amp hour 48-volt lithium iron phosphate batteries, a 3500 watt solar inverter charger, and last but not least, the Renji 1 core to allow us to monitor the system remotely. But let's rewind about a month and a half, because that's when I realized that there was something that was really annoying me about my darling tool trailer. My much beloved tool trailer is a relatively small one at about 12 feet in length. Now, by pure coinkydink, all of my heavy tools have wound up in the front of the trailer. There is my Bosch miter saw, a DeWalt planer, and a Boss job site table saw. These are all somewhat heavy and somewhat awkward to move around inside of the trailer. Luckily, inspiration struck. There's a way where I could make it a lot easier to get these tools in and out. Behind these sheet goods here, there is a door that I never use. I grabbed a quick couple of measurements and set to work. My goal is to be able to build what I need out of whatever scrap I have in the pile. This perfectly illustrates what it is I don't like about the current setup. The miter saw might not look heavy, but I guarantee you it's both heavy and awkward to carry. The table saw is actually the least annoying one to get in and out, but still, it would be nice not to have to do the shimmy. This is not going to be a fine piece of woodworking for a couple of reasons. For one, I am not that good of a woodworker, and also, it's for a tool trailer. It was at this point I realized that I had never actually checked if I could get the G-list thing into the trailer once it was built. Easy it was not, and had the thing been just a little bit bigger, it would have been completely impossible. But alas, tool storage that is accessible right from the door that I never used, this is going to be fantastic. The table saw just slides right in without any kind of effort. The surface for the miter saw might be a little bit too high. It's not super easy, but perhaps I can build some steps in the future. A little unforeseen bonus is that I can now use the miter saw inside of the trailer and just shoot any dust straight out the door. Next on the wish list for the tool trailer was solar panels. But the old roof rack doohickeys looked, well, let's just say less than brand new. Previously, this trailer belonged to an electrician, so some damage is to be expected. Also, kudos to the perseverance of this person that installed this roof rack thing. Some people might have stopped after snapping the 7th self-tapper, but not our guy. Most of the roof rack looked salvageable. If I just shorten it as much as possible and straighten out the bent pieces, I think we can reuse it. Eesh, that is a fair bit of straightening out required, but let's give it a go. I started by removing the lower parts of the doohickeys, cutting the welds, and then liberating the bar that actually attaches to the trailer. Luckily, this is aluminum, so straightening out the bent pieces only requires a gentle whispering from Mr. 2 pounds of China. Oh, and would you look at that? See how easy it is to get out those big bulky tools from the tool trailer now? That is well worth the few hours it took to build that. The wonderful thing about aluminum is that even a dull spoon can cut it, and if you add a power tool to that mix, then aluminum turns into the room temperature butter of metal fabrication. I have never welded aluminum before, but this seemed like a great project to learn on. Luckily, Jeff used to be a professional aluminum welder. After a few helpful pointers and some help getting my welder dialed in, I was off to the races. This is one of those things where 30 minutes of help can save you days of frustration. Thank you so much for the help, Jeff. My welds didn't turn out 100% perfect, but definitely good enough for this tool trailer. A few weeks later, my friend Klaus was in town and helped me reinstall the roof rack doohickeys on the trailer. Another great example of a project that is way easier with two people. Back. Before welding the giant frame for the solar panels, we did a quick test on some scrap just to see how much it would warp and how accurate we could get. The results from our test were super reassuring, so we set to work on the big frame. This is yet another example of a project where a second pair of hands is just amazing. Thank you so much, Klaus. With great effort and much double checking, we got the frame as close to perfect as humanly possible. I've been waiting for weeks to be able to make this joke, so please bear with me. The next step was absolutely riveting, as each of the little angle pieces got 2 rivets to firmly hold them in place and to act as a bit of a backup for my welds. I then spent an entire afternoon and evening welding all of those little tabs on the top and on the bottom. During the modification of the Darling tool trailer, I realized that it would be really cool if we could get the tool trailer ready to go off-grid for the move to North Carolina, because our long-term goal or our dream in North Carolina is to find a little piece of property where we can build a workshop and some living accommodations and then finish the refit of the catamaran on that property. But for us to be able to afford that, it's gonna have to be out in the middle of nowhere. Perhaps somewhere where we can't get connected to the electrical grid, at least not right away. And in that case, it would be freaking awesome to have the tool trailer be able to act as our own little power station. In the midst of me dreaming about adding solar panels to the tool trailer, an email popped up from Renogy asking if I was interested in testing some of their new solar panels. And I said, oh boy, am I. So in the spirit of full transparency, Renogy is the sponsor of this week's video, and they did send me all of this glorious hardware free of charge. Renogy is a very well-known brand, so I am sure the vast majority of you guys are already familiar with them. But in case you're not, then Renogy is a big company when it comes to energy solutions, and in particular, off-grid energy solutions. Their products are basically available all over the world, but their headquarters is right here in the US, in Ontario, California, I believe. These are all the products we'll need to take the tool trailer off-grid. We have 6 N-type 200-watt solar panels with an impressive cell efficiency of 25%. We also have a whopping 10.24 kilowatt hours worth of lithium iron phosphate batteries. And to tie those two together, we have a 3500-watt solar inverter charger that will charge the batteries from not only the solar panels, but also from a shore power connection if we have one available. And it also has an inverter inside of it, so we can have 120 volt AC power available. But that is not all. For us to be able to monitor the system both here at the trailer but also remotely, we have this little bit of Renogy magic. This is the Renogy One Core. This will give us a super cool, easy to use, cloud-enabled interface that will give us both real-time data and also historical data for the system anywhere in the world. Our tool trailer is currently blocked in by some other boats, so I can't drag it out of there. And it's also wedged under the catamaran. There's a lot of shade up there. So I figured it'd be best if we did a test of the solar panels before installing them on the trailer. Our system is going to be a nominal 48-volt system. There are some big benefits that we'll get back to a little bit later. But for the inverter charger to be able to charge our batteries, we need the open circuit voltage from the solar panels to be at least 60 volts. Each of our 6 solar panels here has a VOC of 37.44 volts. So I've wired them together in 3 sets in parallel of 2 in series. That is going to give us a VOC of 74.9 volts. Because Captain Dum-Dum is always riding shotgun, let's just do a real quick little sanity check here to see what kind of voltage we're getting. Yep, 70 volt is absolutely perfect. And now we know we're not going to damage the inverter charger when we connect the solar panels. Looking at the little display on the inverter charger, it looks like we are a little over 60 volts at around 20 amps. That would be 1200 watts, which I think is our nominal rating on our array. So I think it's fair to conclude the solar panels work. On a fun little side note, we made it just in time. The shadow or the shade from the boat is creeping closer and closer to the solar panels. It is just about to hit. There are some really awesome specs on these brand new Renogy 200 watt panels. They are 7.5% smaller and 11.7% lighter than the previous generation, and they've also upped the cell efficiency from 22.5% all the way up to 25%. They also come with a 10-year warranty and a 25-year 80% output warranty. That, combined with the fact that Renogy is a major brand name in the off-grid energy space, has me really excited about these panels. I know this is a little bit silly, but I also really like that they have blue corners that match the rest of the Renogy products. These are high voltage glass panels that are compatible with 12, 24, 48 or even higher voltage systems. Now for a system like our 48 volt one, all you need is 2 panels to get the voltage high enough to be able to charge. The panels are a nominal 24 volts, and the big benefit to going with a higher voltage for not only the panels but also the system as a whole is that you need smaller gauge wire. That is going to save you money on the wire, but also it's going to make the installation easier. And it looks like time has caught up with us, but we are still charging. It got kind of late last night, but the solar panels are bolted to the frame and the frame is bolted to the roof rack thing, and everything looks really good. I also got the cable gland installed for getting the conductors from the solar panels into the trailer. Now I specifically ordered some Sikaflex 252 because that's what the manual from Renogy for the cable gland suggested using, and I remember having that stuff in my hand inside of the tool trailer a few days ago. But yesterday when I went to install the cable gland, it was nowhere to be found. So I ended up using a little bit of 3M's 5200, which I'm sure is gonna do an okay job too. I specifically ordered the other product because it was mentioned in the manual, and yeah, it's in there somewhere. Also in the category of good news, I spent all day yesterday roasting in the sun on this ladder, installing those solar panels. And then today, wouldn't you know it, it's nice and overcast. Because I am still new to welding aluminum, I decided to use a different method for securing the frame to the roof rack doohickey. The bottom square tubing here is the roof rack, and then on top here is my frame. And as you can see, I've got a couple of holes going through the frame, and then the two are just smushed together. There's a couple of plates of 6mm aluminum on either side, and then these two threaded rods. This is 1/4 inch rod. I wanted the threaded rods to be nice and tight up against the roof rack, so I came up with this 3D printed jig that fared not that well. In all fairness to the red contraption here, this was just my prototype, and I was planning on printing it in a more durable filament, but it's just been so busy the last few months that I completely forgot. And to its credit, it did make it to the 3rd last hole. I know for a fact that there are easier ways to secure solar panels to a trailer, but I am really pleased with how my custom frame arrangement here turns out, and it feels rock solid. Each of the panels are bolted in place in at least 6 different positions, so yeah, it feels incredibly sturdy. I still have a little bit of cable management to take care of up here, but I'll hold off on that until I know that that 5200 is fully cured. Now, before we head inside, I just wanted to point out this little guy up here. I've got 3 of those inline fuses in total. There is 1 on the positive side of each of my 2 panels in series. They're there to just provide a little bit of enhanced protection. The wiring for the solar panels come in through the hole up here in the roof, and then it goes straight down to this little breaker here. I've sized this at 32 amps, which should be more than enough for our system. The solar panels are how we're going to get the energy we need, but without somewhere to store that energy, I wouldn't be able to work on rainy days. That is what these 4 Renogy 48 volt 50 amp hour lithium iron phosphate batteries will allow us to do. These 4 batteries will give us a combined capacity of 10.24 kilowatt hours. That is a whole lot of welding, grinding, and sanding. What I think is cool about these batteries is not only the BMS that protects and monitors the batteries, but they've also got built-in heaters. That is very important if you're located somewhere cold and you want to charge your batteries while they're cold, because charging lithium iron phosphate batteries below freezing, so below 32 Fahrenheit or 0 degrees Celsius, can damage the batteries. But not with these Renogy batteries. As soon as the temperature drops below freezing, then the built-in heaters kick in and make sure you can charge your batteries safely. I've been looking forward to this for a really long time. Let's go ahead and install the batteries and the solar inverter charger in the trailer. Last night I finished all of the wiring and I got the batteries nice and secured. As a part of trying to figure out where to install the batteries, I realized that the bottom of the trailer here is just a single sheet of 1/2 inch OSB. So I built that little tray you saw to help spread the load of the batteries out across on 2 sections of the frame, rather than having just one of the batteries sit directly on the OSB. And of course also the little tray does a great job of securing the batteries. Let's take a quick little look and see what I got up to yesterday. Let's start with the batteries. The 4 batteries are wired in parallel to keep the voltage the same, but up the amp hours. So we got 200 amp hours at 48 volts. From the positive terminal on the battery, we go direct to a little Class T 150 amp fuse. You want that as close as possible to the battery. From there, we go to a battery switch, so I have an easy way of turning on and off power. And then from there, we go up to the 3500 watt solar inverter charger. Unfortunately, due to a rather silly little measuring mix-up, I had to cut a hole in that shelf there to be able to fit the solar inverter charger. But at least it has plenty of room to breathe. If we continue skywards, you can see a little breaker box there for my AC power, and then up there is the disconnect for the solar. Let's turn on the power here and also the solar inverter charger. I've done the configuration of the solar inverter charger. As you can see, it says LI there right now. That is because it's configured to charge the lithium iron phosphate batteries. It's still early in the day and there is a lot of shading here under the catamaran, but let's see if we can get just a little bit of juice from these solar panels. The green light is flashing, so we're definitely charging at 3 amps. 3 amps at 65 volts, that is around 200 watts. That's pretty good, but it would be a lot nicer to be able to monitor the system not crawling around on the floor. So let's see if we can get the Renogy One Core hooked up. Like I mentioned before, this will allow us to not only monitor the system here locally on the little screen, but it'll also put all of that data up in the cloud so we can monitor the system from anywhere in the world. Because the Renogy One Core is designed for RVs, campers, stuff like that, it has a built-in leveling feature that might be useful here in the tool trailer too. This little guy can be powered off of 12 volt, 24 volt, or there's a little USB plug on the back, but he cannot be powered off of 48 volts. So if you want to do that, then you need one of these little converter doohickeys. This guy is 48 to 12 volts. To feed data to the Renogy One Core, we can do that wirelessly using this little Bluetooth module here. That means the only thing we need to supply wired to the Renogy One Core is power. After downloading the app connecting the Bluetooth module to the solar inverter charger, I can now see all of the data right here on my phone. So no more crawling around on the floor, but let's see if we can get this stuff onto the Renogy One Core. For now, I'm going to power the Renogy One Core off of the USB connection. After agreeing to the terms and getting the One Core connected to my Wi-Fi, it asked me to scan a QR code on the screen with my phone. And presto, just like that, I had all the information on the screen. This is when I realized I have made a silly mistake, because I forgot to order a shunt. It's 100% my fault. And without a shunt with the core batteries I have, without any built-in Bluetooth connection, the only way you can get state of charge on the Renogy One Core is with a shunt. It's perfectly normal. I just completely forgot to order one. All is not lost though, because we can still use the solar inverter charger. So let's see if it'll power something. Like, for instance, this kettle. Yeah, we are pulling over 1400 watts and the water's already up to 168 Fahrenheit. With the solar inverter charger also having a charger component, let's connect some shore power and see if that works. We are at the end of quite possibly the world's longest extension cord, so I don't know how much we can actually pull off of this before the voltage drops too much. I heard a beep outside of the trailer, a good kind of beep, and yeah, I can see that the display on the Renogy One Core has changed. If we scroll down a little bit here, we should be able to, yeah, almost 700 watts in charging the batteries right now. And if we scroll down further, only 224 of those watts are from the sun. Before connecting that extension cord, I did go into the solar inverter charger and just lower the charging current from the grid, because we are at the end of that very long extension cord. I set it at 10 amps. You can go all the way up to 40 amps, and you can charge up to 120 amps if you combine grid and 80 amps from solar. Keep in mind that that is at 48 volts, right? So 120 amps times 48 volts, that is 5,700 and some odd watts. That's a lot of juice. Like, that theoretically means we could theoretically charge our whole battery bank in like under 2 hours. Of course, we don't have enough solar power up there on the roof to get us all the way up to 80 amps at 48 volts. I think what we saw during the test earlier was around 1200 watts, which is still pretty freaking good. And I don't think we're gonna be short of power anytime soon. We've seen that everything works, so I think we can confidently declare the tool trailer ready to go off-grid. That is going to be super useful if we manage to find a little piece of property up in North Carolina where we can build a workshop on. So thank you so much to Renogy for sponsoring this video, and yeah, check out the link down in the description for some great deals. The astute viewer might have noticed some continuity issues in this video. That's because this video was shot in parallel or side by side of next week's video. I won't give out any spoilers besides the ones you might have noticed on your own in this video, but yeah, next week we're gonna push on and continue attempting to get the catamaran ready for the trip to North Carolina. In real-time news, we're about 2 weeks behind right now. In real-time news, Ava gets back the day after tomorrow. A couple of days after that, we're going to start bringing Athena north towards North Carolina. Without further ado, let's end this week's video here. But I hope to see all you guys back here aboard the catamaran next week for yet more oh glorious DIY fun. Just remember that thanks to video editing magic, there won't be any solar panels on the tool trailer in next week's video. But yeah, as always, feel free to leave a comment down below, and don't forget, if you've enjoyed this video, please remember to leave a like. See you!